What's going on, guys? I'm going to show you how to set up a Qubic wallet, how to start mining on the Qubic.Li pool, and also showing you the basic settings and configurations for the CPU and GPU mining on Windows. So the first thing you're going to do is go to the description below and hit this link. It is a GitHub link, and you're going to scroll down until you see Qubic wallet windows.zip. Download that. My version 091, but your version might be different depending on when you downloaded it, and put it into a folder of your choosing. Extract all the files into that folder and then delete the .zip file. Double click on Qubic_wallet. It has an icon on it, and once you're on this page, you're going to hit create new wallet. It's going to ask you to create a password. This password is going to be to access your wallet again from your computer. Make sure you remember that password, and then you're going to hit add new ID. It's going to ask you to make an account name. You can make it whatever you'd like, and then hit create random, which will create a new private seed. This private seed is something you don't want to lose. Keep it somewhere safe. If you lose it, you won't be able to get your wallet back. You're going to lose all your funds, and don't share it with anyone. Also, down here is a generated public ID. This ID is for you to receive your funds from the pool or anyone who wants to send you some Qubic. On the bottom right, hit save new ID. Again, it warns you, keep it safe. Don't share it with anyone. Don't paste it in God knows where. Hit I have read and understood the warning and hit proceed. And that's it. You've set up your Qubic wallet. So now we're going to be going over the account setup for pooling. You're going to go to this link over here, app.qubic.li. It's going to be provided to you in the description below. But basically, once you're on the Qubic.li portal, you're going to hit sign up over here. And you're going to put in your email and password and solve a quick CAPTCHA of addition. And then you're going to go back to the sign in page and then obviously put in your email address and password again. But now it's going to ask you for an authentication code. You don't actually have to put anything here initially. You can just sign in. However, in the future, you can set up an authentication code later to maximize your account security. But yeah, just when you're ready, just sign in. So once you've signed in, you're going to be met with this overview page. You're going to go to the left here where it says pool mining. And you're going to scroll all the way down until you see subscribe. And you're going to hit confirm. This is basically saying you're willing to put all your mining power to this pool. You're going to scroll all the way back up and hit access token and then hit show token. Now this token is going to be a way for your miner to know where it's mining to. You're going to put this somewhere like a notepad so you can get back to it later, and then you're going to hit settings over here. And in this settings tab, it's basically where you're going to put your public ID for your wallet. You're going to go back to your wallet and go to receive like we mentioned before, copy it over here and paste it on here. So this is the way the pool knows where to pay out the Qubics you've earned from mining. So once you've done that, you've basically set up all that you can do on the pooling portal. Something to keep in mind is if you go to the left here to miner control, you can see all your listed miners here and the total power they're outputting, defined as iterations per second, and the total solutions they found throughout the epoch you're currently in. So now that we've gone over the pooling portal, I'm going to be showing you how to do CPU mining on Windows. Something to keep in mind is that if you're also trying to do GPU mining on Windows, you have to download a Windows subsystem for Linux. It's basically a Linux environment that exists on your Windows operating system, and that enables us to do GPU mining since there hasn't been a version of the Qubic client that lets us do GPU mining on Windows. So what we're going to do now is go to this GitHub link over here. I'm going to provide it in the description below. But once you're on this page, you're going to scroll down to where it says download, and you're just going to download the latest version of the miner client. My version currently is 1.8.8, but your version might be different depending on when you've downloaded it, of course. So drag it into a folder of your choosing, unzip the files, and just delete the .zip file. You're going to be left with the settings for the miner client and the application to run the miner client itself. Open the app settings with either Notepad or Notepad++, and you're going to be met with default settings for the app settings.json. Delete everything in here. Go back to the GitHub page and scroll all the way down to where it says sample configuration with token. Copy it and paste it back into the app settings.json. And we're going to do a little bit of configuration here. So the first setting you're going to see is base URL. You actually don't have to change anything here since the pool is already put in their URL for you. You're just going to make sure it is mine.Qubic.Li. The next setting is the amount of threads. This is obviously how many threads from your CPU you want to put into the mining power of the client. If you don't remember or don't know how many threads you have, you can go to Task Manager, go to Performance, and on the bottom right you should see Logical Processors. Mine's 32. Obviously your number is going to be different, and you can adjust it to how you like it. And then the next setting is going to be Alias. Alias is basically how the pool portal is going to see your client, what name it's going to be assigned. So client 3 is the one they already put here, but I can put miner 1 CPU. And so when I go on the pool portal, I'm going to see this specific client be called miner 1 CPU, so we can differentiate which miner is which. And the next setting is going to be the access token. As we mentioned before, we told you to paste it over here on the notepad on the bottom right. However, if you don't have it, you can go back to the Qubic portal and go to the pool mining tab and go to access token and just hit show token again. And so you can paste it into this very long text. Paste it over. And then that's it. You could just save this app settings and you're ready to start mining basically. So now you're going to go back into the folder you created for your miner client and just double click on QLI-client. It's going to open up a CMD and you're just going to wait for it to boot up, and it's going to try to mine as soon as possible. However, this is the first time we're booting it up, so it has to generate new files for it to function properly, and it might pause a little bit, and that's completely normal. But some things to keep in mind is E100 basically means we're on epoch 100. Sol 00, that means we found 0 solutions. 96 iterations per second, that's how much mining power we're bringing to the pool. And over here is the average of that. So over time, these two numbers tend to be the same number, obviously, because at a certain point, your CPU starts to become consistently generating the same power. But like I said, you can also go back to the pooling portal and go to miner control. And after a couple minutes, it might take longer for some people, you'll start to see all the details of the miner and even the name that we set up earlier, so we can differentiate which miner is which. But yeah, we've successfully set up the CPU miner for Qubic, and now we're going to be going over how to set up GPU mining if you're interested. So as mentioned before, GPU mining for Qubic only works on a Linux environment. That's where we're going to be using Windows subsystem for Linux. To download it, you're going to go on the bottom left of your search bar on Windows and type in PowerShell, and Windows PowerShell should appear. You can also use CMD, and you're going to right click it and run it as an administrator. Press yes. Now let me zoom this in so you guys can see it better. So in here, you're going to type in WSL space -- install, and it's going to download the subsystem for Linux. Now, as it installs, it's going to ask you to later restart your computer. So we're going to come back when that's finished, hit yes to anything it gives you, any prompts it gives you, and you're just going to let it install. So we'll be back when it's done. So now that we've installed WSL and restarted our computer, we're going to go on to this GitHub page next. It's the same one that you used last time to download the CPU miner. Scroll down again to download, but this time go on the Linux OS and download the Linux 1.8.8. Obviously my version is probably different than yours depending on when you downloaded it, and put it into a folder just to get it ready for the Linux system. And unzip it here. And then delete the .zip file. So just hold that for now, and we're gonna open Ubuntu next. So what we're gonna do now is just go to the bottom left of our Windows search bar and type in Ubuntu. It should be installed already, and it's gonna say this may take a few minutes. It's actually really quick, and it's gonna have you type in a new Unix username. It has to be all lowercase, so we can just call it Qubic. And the password, when you do type it in, it's going to be invisible, so don't freak out. Just type in your new password, retype it in, and it's going to generate you a new Unix user. So now when that's done, we can finally set up the GPU miner client in a Linux environment. So what we're going to do now to set this up is go to File Explorer on Windows. So open that up, and on the left hand side you should see that Linux is now an option. Hit that and then just double click on Ubuntu and navigate to the home folder, and you're going to see that new user folder that we created, Qubic, and you're going to double click into there, and you're going to see a bunch of files in here. These are just system files that are actually invisible to a Linux user, but you can just ignore them. What you're going to do is drag and drop the miner folder for the GPU Linux environment, and we're just going to rename it to something more simpler like miner. And now we're going to do some configurations to the settings file in that miner. So we're just going to double click into the miner folder and go to appsettings.json like before and edit it with a notepad. And we're going to see again the default settings here, just delete that. And we're going to go back actually to the GitHub page where we downloaded the miner, and we're going to navigate to the correct default settings for GPU mining. So it's going to say samples settings for GPU, and you're just going to copy that. Go back to the appsettings.json and paste it in. Now you're going to leave everything the same except for access token and alias like before. You're going to put your access token in here, and you're also going to put in the alias you want. For example, we can put GPU miner 1. And once you put in your access token, you're going to save. And we're almost done. We're just going to change some permissions for Linux so we can run the miner. So every time we open Ubuntu, it should just take us to that user directory Qubic, and it also has that miner folder that we put in there. To see that, you're going to type in ls, and that just means list, and you're going to see the miner folder in there. To go into that folder, you're going to type in cd space miner, which means change the directory, and we're going to type in ls again to list all the files in there. And the files that we're most concerned with is just the qli-client, and we're going to type in /, which basically is the beginning to execute an application, and we're going to type in the QLI client and make sure it is with capital C. It is case sensitive, and technically this would be the command to run the miner client, but unfortunately it's going to give you a permissions denied error. So what you're going to do is type in chmod +x and then the name of the QLI client. And what this is going to do is change the permissions so we can execute it, and then just type in /QLI-client again. And now it's going to run the GPU miner, and it's going to say that it's detecting it. One CUDA devices are used, and we're just going to give it a minute to generate those files that are important to make it run properly. So as you can see, the GPU miner is working as it should. It's updating just like the CPU miner would. And over here you can see it's going to say trainer GPU #0. That just means that the GPU is running on this client. And on the right here you can see all the files for the client to run correctly has been generated. And if we even wanted to, we can even CPU mine alongside with it and have them running simultaneously. But yeah, now you can CPU and GPU mine on Qubic whenever you want. So thanks for watching. I hope you found my tutorial helpful. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my fast and Ramadan. Salam.